Software development life cycle. So what is the software development life cycle? Also abbreviated as SDLC. So last Saturday I defined what agile was, which was just basically the mindset that organizations use to develop complex products in an iterative manner and incrementally by self-managed and cross-functional teams. So again, the is the mindset that they use to develop what complex products, and software is a complex product. So why am I interested in talking about the software development life cycle? Because irrespective of the model, the project management model or the product development model your company adopts, the software development lifecycle doesn't change. It doesn't matter if you're using an iterative model or you're following the waterfall approach. It doesn't matter. So it's very valuable. I believe it will be very valuable for us Scrum Masters out there to understand the basics and set their foundation strong on what the software development lifecycle is really all about. Okay? So, by the way, my name is Chris, and welcome to my channel, Everything Agile, where I try to break down all the elements of the agile implementation in software development. So, welcome. Back to it. Let's get back to it. So, the various phases of the software development life cycle, there are actually 7 of them. Phase number 1 is requirements gathering and analysis. The second phase is we have planning. The third phase, and I'm going to go a little bit more detailed with each of these phases. The third phase is design. The fourth phase is the development itself. After design is done, of course, the write the code, the development. The fifth phase is testing. You have to test what you've developed to make sure it's working effectively or as per the acceptance criteria. The sixth phase is integration and deployment. And the last phase is maintenance. All right, let's go a little bit more detailed, guys. So requirements phase, right? So this is actually where the company is eliciting the requirements from the customer, right? Let's take for example, you're a company and you want to create your own ride sharing business, right? Like Lyft. So you now come to Chris LLC, who develops software, and you say, hey, can you build us an app that basically mimicking Lyft so that we can actually sell ride sharing services to our customers? So okay, sure. So what would be the, also we're going to ask what requirements are you looking for, right, in that application. So think about Lyft. So what do? You need to enter your current location before you book a ride. Think about it. Maybe you enter your destination. You need a button to enter a field to enter your destination, right? You need to payment, and you want to have various options to make a payment, right? Be it through credit card, debit card, right? Maybe even PayPal and Venmo. I mean, there are all sorts of payment options that are out there now, and you want to make sure it can accept either your Visa or your MasterCard as well for the credit and the debit cards, right? So that's that. Then you want to be able to share your ride with your loved ones so they know exactly where you are at any point in time. It's a crazy world we live in these days. So you want to have the option to share your ride and maybe tip tip the chauffeur or the driver, right? You want to have a tipping option there. Then even the tipping, you want to have an option to tip by a percentage or to enter a fixed amount. So for simplicity, these are examples of requirements, right? So after you've elicited all these requirements from your customer, right? You want to do some analysis, right? Which is the next thing. You want to do some analysis, and you actually analyze to make sure that the requirements are actually going to satisfy the end user, the customer. They're going to achieve their objective or their mission with this application, right? So you want to analyze that, and after you've done all the analysis of these requirements, you document it in the requirements specification document, right? The RSD, right? Once you have that document, which is the output of this requirements and gathering and analysis phase, then you now get into your planning phase, right? During the planning phase, you're thinking about what's the feasibility of this project? What is the cost? What are they? Do you have the available resources? Are there risks? What are the legal implications of developing a product like this for this client? So you basically get all of that sorted out during your planning phase. Then once that is all visualized and signed off, you now move on to your design phase. So in your design, high level, detailed, you kind of give the customer a flavor of what it's going to look like in your design, and then you have a conversation with them where you will also get their suggestions, and if they want any changes to the design, you discuss that with them. Then you can now kick in your development phase, right? Well, this is where the engineers or the developers now actually transform all these requirements into code. They actually write the code, and of course, after the code is being written, you want to test it to make sure it's meeting all the requirements are actually functioning effectively. So there are functional tests that you run here, that the team runs, right? So things like unit testing, that has to be done. Acceptance testing to make sure it meets the acceptance criteria. Each of these requirements have acceptance criteria which must be met, right? And there are a bunch of other tests which can be done, which will not get into regression testing. There's a lot. But just for simplicity's sake, when you develop, you have to test what you've developed to make sure it's functioning effectively, right? Or it's functioning as per the requirement. Then, once it is being tested and is functioning as per the requirements, it meets the acceptance criteria, then you can integrate the code into the master branch, right? So it's now integrated into the master branch to meet the other body of code that's already existing out there. And of course, you can still run integration testing there to make sure nothing is broken, right? Then you finally deploy. So normally you deploy in the QA environment or in the prod mirror environment before you deploy to the production environment, where it can be available to the end users after a release is done, right? So when that is done, then things might not work as expected on the ground or by the end users, and they will now start having complaints, and they'll report back to the company, the development company, and tickets will be opened to put in those fixes and remediate all those defects, which are bugs, right? So basically, those are the phases of the software development life cycle. So if you're using an iterative approach to develop software, right, then you're going to basically run through these phases within sprints or iteration, right? At the beginning of the sprint, you do a little bit of you pull in the requirements, which are basically the user stories from the backlog. You sit with the team and the PO, and the backlog, which is prioritized. You pull in the ones that the team can work on depending on their capacity and depending on what has been prioritized by the PO, right? And then you hold your sprint planning meeting, and you decide on what you're going to work on by pulling in those requirements you're going to work on from the product backlog into the sprint backlog, right? And then a little bit of design is done on the stories for the stories you're going to work on. Then you actually the development team or the developers, they actually write the code, they test it, and then they merge it to the master branch with the existing code, and then they deploy. And then during sprint review or sprint demo, we call in our stakeholders again to to showcase what we've done so far, to get feedback from them, right? And based on their feedback, some other requirements can be created and put in the product backlog, which will be reprioritized again by the product owner. And then in the next sprint or in the next iteration, that can be pulled up depending on how on the priority level of that particular feedback that was received from our stakeholders. So guys, that's the software development lifecycle in a nutshell. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any other contents I put out there. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. See you in the next one. Bye.